Russia sees its energy future in China and India, and maybe other places, but not in Europe. But for the moment, it works Russia's way pretty well. But in the long run, it will put Russia in deep trouble. It will have to shift markets, and that's not so easy, as I say, with gas, because you need pipeline.
This does feel like a very, very slow moving car crash where we can kind of see the end result, which is terrible. But there doesn't seem to be very much that can be done in the interim to stop it.
You're right, except you can take shorter showers. That's what everyone suggests. Save your energy bill. No, I mean, leaders are scrambling around because the amount of energy on the market is limited, particularly in terms of natural gas, which isn't so easy. Either you have a pipeline or you don't, and if you don't, then maybe you have LNG, but it's not so simple. And Europe hates fracking, so it makes it all very difficult. The European Union has tried to pull together a plan to reduce gas use, gas consumption, because it's been, in general, 40% dependent on Russia for gas. The biggest country involved, as you know, is Germany, but Germany's managed to cut its dependency already from 55% to about 30%. But the big game everywhere is filling up the tanks, preparing for winter. And Russia is being very clever about this because it's reducing its gas supplies, but with gas prices so high, it's making much more money from even that reduction. So the financing of the war goes on just fine, but Russia's pushing on Europe, hoping it can divide people from their governments, get people very angry, and undermine the sense of solidarity about Ukraine. That seems to be the game. As you say, it's pretty obvious, but it's happening despite everybody's best efforts.
And that's a really interesting point, isn't it? That because there was an argument at some point that Russia wouldn't want to cut its own throat here. It can't. If it stops supplying gas to Europe, it will be damaged economically. But if the price of gas is so high, it can reduce its amount, you're saying. It can go at 20% capacity and still make money. And therefore, ultimately, it can carry on doing this indefinitely.
Well, it can, but not indefinitely, because, of course, in the long run, once you wean yourself from Russian gas, you'll never go back, right? Why would you? And countries are doing that. They're finding alternate supplies. Also, people are moving, as we all know, to much more sustainable energy that's permanent, more wind farms, et cetera, et cetera. So I think Russia sees its energy future in China and India, and maybe other places, but not in Europe. But for the moment, it works Russia's way pretty well. But in the long run, it will put Russia in deep trouble. It will have to shift markets, and that's not so easy, as I say, with gas, because you need pipelines.
I guess the question then, you're the chief diplomatic correspondent for the New York Times in Europe. The question really is one of diplomacy. It feels very unlikely that there's an obvious diplomatic solution because Russia holds the whip hand in the short term, as you're saying, and ultimately the thing it wants is for the West to back off and allow it to take pieces of Ukraine. And the extent to which, what is the extent to which that in Germany, if they have a huge contraction of their economy, if they can't afford to keep the lights on in the autumn, let alone the winter, is there a moment in which Germany will say, however openly, we are not supporting the resistance to Russia in Ukraine?
Well, not yet, because opinion polls show that Germans do have solidarity right now. And one thing Germans have in general is money. It's quite rich. They can afford it. The government will act. The big problem for Germany is there's bits of its industry that are very intensive users of gas, not just electricity. You can't make ceramics without gas, etc. It's hard to make steel without gas, that kind of thing. But no, I think for the moment we're okay. I think we'll get through this winter. Stocks are filling up slowly. They're hoping to get to 70, 80% of storage capacity. They're now at 65. It's just going to be really, really expensive. Now, how long the war goes on, as you say, I think it's going to go on for quite a long time. Russia is not backing down on its aims, which are not just bits of Ukraine, but as they say, all of Ukraine,
Yeah.
but we'll see. And the Ukrainians aren't ready to stop fighting either. They think, particularly in the south, near Kherson, they're starting some sort of counter-offensive. They think with the right NATO equipment, they can begin to push Russians back. So I think we're in this for the long haul, and it's going to be a cold and expensive winter, or certainly an expensive winter.